Shalom, God bless you, brother and sister, and who's watching this video. I'm gonna talking about the one man in the Old Testament. His name is Job. Who is it? Job chapter 3 until 43. It's Bible verse. Job chapter 13 verse 15. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Even so, I will deepen my own ways before him. History setting. Many scholars agree that book of Job's author is unknown. It is a difficult task for us to decide who is the author of this book. But according to the Advent, the tendency is that Moses wrote this book. If we read this book carefully, we will find that the style is similar with other book which is wrote by Moses. However, many author words appear in Job also used in Genesis. For example, El Shaddai, the Almighty, appeared 31 times in the book of Job and 6 times in the book of Genesis. Moses wrote this book when he was in the Midian desert. It means the story of Job was happened before the time of Abraham. The obvious setting of Job is that of Arabian desert culture. Strongly enough, it's not an Israel setting about Job. Job was a rich man in his place. He has anything. He was a fool with wealthy. He has sheep, camel, yoke, household, and anything. Means that he was great in the use. He also has good children and wife. Because he was a rich man, however, he has many friends who close with him. More than that, he was not only a rich man, rich in wealthy possession, but he was also a spiritual man. The author of this book said in Job chapter 1 verse 1, I'm going to read for you. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And the man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. We get the point from this writer of Job. Job was a rich man and spiritual man. This is not an idea, because God also acknowledged this truth. In Job chapter 1 verse 8, then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? That there is no one like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, and who fear God and shunned evil. So, Job not merely a rich man, he was blameless, upright, and who fear God. This idea is strong enough because the writer wrote the same idea which God had said to him. Short description about the story of Job. In the story, there were 3 actors who played an important thing: God, Satan, and Job. Satan accused to God that His people left him because of something perverse. And for this context, it is because God blessed Job with wealthy, and it is not because Job genuine love to him. In the other hand, God believed that Job and genuine love to him. The universe was watching to this moment. Who was right and who was a liar? As we know, finally God permits Satan to tempt Job. God wants to prove that the universe, that Satan was an accuser and the father of liars. What happened with Job when God realized him to Satan? The book of Job in chapter 1 until 2 give us the story of Job. But from chapter 3 until 41, we just find a forgery. And in that last chapter, in 42, we will see the happy ending of this story. I will share with you this Sabbath, the other side of Job. We always listen in sermon about Job chapter 1 until 2 and jump to the last chapter in 42. But actually the important thing in the chapter 3 until 41, here we will look how Job struggled with this temptation. He down and up, down and up, down and up. And he confused. Who is the troublemaker of this tragedy when he lose everything? Who is the man behind this scam? Who is the troublemaker? Finally, we will find it because of who this really was happened. Let's see this story from chapter 3 until 41. Down 1. Job chapter 3 verse 11. I'm going to read for you. Why did I not die at a breath? Why did not perish when I came from the womb? It seemed that Job upset for his life. Why? He must born if he will suffer like this. Can you imagine? When someone rich and lost everything, lost his wealthy, lost his children, lost his wife when his wife suggest him to curse God and die. And finally, he lost his best friend because his friend accused him, make trouble with sin to God. He lost everything in the earth. That's why it's better for him to die and buried even if he enjoyed the wealthy, the mass make damage like this. Up 1. Job chapter 16 verse 25. I'm going to read for you. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at the last the earth. After he complied to God, he realized that God is a Redeemer, God lives, and God shall stand for him. In the beginning of his suffering, he was down, but lately he rise again and declared that he still knows God as his Redeemer. Verse 26. And ever after my skin is destroyed, that I know That is my flesh, I shall see God. He believed also that even he died, he will see God face to face. Actually, he had hope after his death. It looked that it was a problem for Job if God will destroy him because he believed in God. He will meet God. Can you see the struggle of Job? He was a very faithful with this temptation. Application 1. Sometimes in our daily life, we got a big problem and make up upset. We upset with our life and we think that is the solution. It makes us upset with God, but lately we remember again His word, pray and repent again. We are lucky that Job, because Job lost everything. Even you lost your wife, son, or daughter, you still have a family. And this church who will support you. Even you lost your job in the office, you can find other job. Even you got disease, you can visit the hospital and congregation will pray for you. This did not happen to Job because he lost everything. He lost every relationship in the earth, down to Job chapter 19 verse 11. I'm going to read for you. That has also kindled his word against me, and he called me as one of his enemies. After he Job became down again. In this passage, we see how the feeling of Job. In his mind, he thought that God again with him and become of his enemy. After he lost the air relationship, now it seems that he will lose the relationship with heaven. He feels that God against him. Can you imagine the position of Job? No relation in the earth and no relation in the heaven. It is better for him to die. He has nothing. There's no reason for survive as a man. Down to Job chapter 23 verse 4 until 5. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with argument. I would know the word which he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. In this verse, we see that Job used judicial language. He wanted to meet God and argue with him. He will ask for an answer to God. What happened with him? In the other word, Job challenged God to meet him and debate what's going on with this trouble. After Job chapter 23 verse 8 until 12. Look, I go forward, but he's not there. And backward, but I cannot perceive him. When he walks on the left hand, I cannot behold him. When he turned to the right hand, I cannot see him, but he knows the ways that I take. When he has tasted me, I shall be comforted as gold. My foot has held fast to his staff. I have kept his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured the word of his mouth more than my necessary food. After Job challenged God and felt that he was an enemy of God, again he realized that this trouble was important for him. He knew that his character was trained and sharp begold. He was a seed that Job changed again. Down, and up again. Application 2. We must remember in the time of Job, he did not have anything, a reference for his spiritual guidance. No scripture at this time because a story of Job happened before Abraham and Noah. In the other word, this book writer before book of Genesis. Where should Job find answer for his struggle? Nothing. We are lucky now. We have so many spiritual references, Bible, a wide writing and other contemporary books. It means we know everything about what's going on this world. We do not need to worry about anything. We do not to meet God face to face like Job requests because we already see God in the Bible. We can see and use the Bible to find God. We can see the God in history, and the advantage for us is we can shape our character through this reference to grow up our faith. Down 3. Job chapter 30, verse 20 and 22. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you regard me. But you have become cruel to me. With the strength of your hand, you oppose me again. Job felt that God had become cruel to him. God again him as his opposite. How suffered Job? He was really struggled with his problem. His spiritually something was instability. Sometimes when he thought that God left him, his spiritual was not very good. Sometimes he realized that God has a purpose of him. What happened with him? With this, he has a bigger question about everything. He looked for answer from God. Job next explained his cry out, but God was silent. Up 3. At this time, God will break his silence. Job prefer. He reserved and ready to listen from God about this mystery. Job chapter 38, verse 1 until 3. I'm going to read for you. Then the Lord answered Job out from the whirlwind and said, Who is this whole darkness caused by word withers knowledge? Now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you will shall answer me. God's deeper purpose is not a settle an argument because of Job as to meet him for arguing. He explained to Job the reason for his suffering. If we read all chapter 38, we will find that God tried to describe the world are nothing. He's the creature. We are creation. God is superior. Human is inferior. Job listened to God. In the other word, God continued to explain to him that we know nothing about the universe and God knows everything. We know nothing about this problem and God knows everything. What's going on with Job? God is dealing with his universe problem. He is a great problem. We just deal with small problem. Application 3. The lesson for us is when temptation come to us, when we get a problem in our life, we know that we don't know everything about this problem. One thing, we must know that God has his own plan for us, and his plan is his kindness and goodness. God is bearing universal problem, and we just deal with a simple problem. In the other hand, we should remember that God still controls this universe, and God still protects us from the great enemies. God answers to Job. God reminds again to Job he is nothing. And God is dealing with the universal problem. Job realized. Job is realized this. But the main question is, who is the actor of the problem and his sufferer? Now God answered him. Job chapter 41, verse 1. Can you draw out Leviathan with a book, or share his tongue with a line with your lower? In the other word, if we read all this chapter, God asked Job, would give him question. Can you defend me, Leviathan? Who is more glowing lamp? His eyes are like this light of the morning. His neck is ring like the shine. His breath colorless cold. His heart is as a frame, as a stone. This means that Job cannot defend Leviathan. Leviathan was the main actor of his suffering. Who is Leviathan? Leviathan, the future of Leviathan are his mouth are burning lamps, His eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. His nesting as light that shine. His breath careless cold. His heart is firm as a stone and edge. The Creator is represented as wild, furious, and unforgettable, having a mouth every of teeth. The body is covered with a scales that near together, like a coat of mail. Many scholars believe that Lapinus is a crocodile. In some translation, Lapinus was translated as a crocodile, but I think crocodile has not fire breathing of or king of afraid children. As for information, ancient story believe that Lapinus is the most great enemy of God. So when God repelled Job of Lapinus, Job know that he is a great enemy of God. Isaiah chapter 27 verse 1. In that day the Lord will his servants show, great and strong, will punish Lapinus failing servant, Lapinus the wicked servant, and he will slay the reptile that is in the sea. God will punish Lapinus later in his day. The information we get from his verse in God will slay Lapinus in the sea. Psalm chapter 74 verse 13 until 15. You divide the sea by your strength. You broke the head of the sea serpent in the water. You broke the head of Lapinus in the pieces and gave him a food the people inhabiting the wilderness. You broke open the fountains and the flood. You dry up mighty river. Lapinus has many head, and God broke the head of Lapinus. Revelation chapter 12 verse 3 and 7 until 9. In this passage, Lapinus was translated as dragon. We will see that Lapinus has 7 head and 10 horn. Michael and his angels will fight with Lapinus in the book of Revelation. Now we understand that Lapinus is Satan. And of course, Job understand that his supper become from Lapinus. God is dealing with a cosmic problem, and his soul cannot fight with Lapinus. Ending story. When Job already heard the explain from God, he fully understand now what's going on with him, and his story has happy ending. Job got back his wealth, got another sons and daughter, and he praised God for this. We get the answer now. Lapinus is Satan. He was the man behind the scheme. He was the troublemaker. He was who make a suffering to Job. He was the Lapinus. He was someone who bring problem, disease, and suffer in this world. We fully understand now. All the problem, according suffer, trouble, disease around this world today is happened because of Lapinus. We have to main reference now to understand what's going on now. We don't need to ask the same question like Job to God. What happened, God? If this is world economic crisis, political crisis, racism issues, army take over the government in Thailand, we know already what's going on. Remember, God dealing with this universe, and we are dealing with our own problem. God still control this world. God will divide limited. We are lucky than Job. Job has no reference about what's going on this earth. It makes him to go down and go up, go down and go up again until God break his silence and explain to him. We have our Bible, we have the book of Job, so we already know what happened in this world now. We know exactly the end of the story. We know the end of this world is mean. We know need to worry about anything happen in this world. We don't need to ask God what's going on. We don't need to ask God about suffering in this world because we already know Leviathan will be responsible for all problem and suffering in this world. Leviathan was a 7 head and 10 horns. Who is it? Leviathan is Satan, the troublemakers, fathers of liar. So, brother and sister, today, let we come to God. Let we have strong faith in God because God has control for this universe. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this video will bless you and encourage you in faith in God. Thank you and God bless you. Shalom.